First off, I just want to say hi to everyone and welcome. Today's webinar is Introduction to OVW Semi-Annual Performance Reporting. My name is Alexa Plotkin, and I'm here with my colleague on video with us, Hannah Brintlinger. And I have another colleague who's off video, Chelsea. She will be answering questions for folks who type them into, I want to just orient everyone to the chat that we have going. And we also have at the bottom of your screen, if you see the Q&A pod, if you would like to ask questions during the webinar privately, just to either, it comes to myself, Hannah, or Chelsea, and other hosts on the webinar, we can answer your questions so they don't come to everyone. We will be posting resources for folks into the larger chat for everyone else to see. And I just want to acknowledge that someone asked a question of, will this be recorded and disseminated? And the answer is yes, we are recording today's session. And I will be getting that recording from Shannon. Thank you so much, from TA to TA, who will be getting that to us, I think, maybe next week. So just look for an email from VAWA MEI with a recording of the webinar. And also you will be receiving the materials from today's slideshow. We have the PDFs in both English and Spanish that we will be emailing out to everyone. So I just want to let everyone know that you don't have to quickly write down everything that you're seeing today, because we will be recording and providing those materials to all of you. And so with that, we can get going. Okay. Before we get started, we just like to introduce who we are. So our organization is VAWA MEI, and we like to say that we are your partners in performance reporting. And so for folks who don't know us, we support OVW and grantees with performance reporting. And then we ourselves are a recipient of an OVW Technical Assistance Award. And most of our work is and has to do with supporting grantees with performance reporting. And we do that by doing things like today's training. We create reporting resources. We have a website that we will be showing all of you and providing that for you in the chat so you can view all of our resources. We also support OVW by aggregating all of your data that you put on your performance reports and creating reports like the biennial report to Congress that we report out on all of this grantee reported data that you all put into your performance reports so that we can demonstrate the impact and effectiveness and the value of VAWA funded programs. And so today, because this is our introductory slideshow to performance reporting, what we will cover is an overview of the performance reporting process. We will be covering how to, number one, access, and number two, fill out. Number three, how to complete a performance report in the impact tool. We will also go over what is the impact tool in case that is something that is not familiar to you. So if I'm saying anything that doesn't make sense at this point in the slideshow, please don't worry. We will be going over everything that we are talking about in the slides that are upcoming. We are going to go over common issues with the impact tool so that if you are using the impact tool and you are running into some errors or issues, hopefully we will have alerted you to them so that you would know what to do. We are going to go over what is a change request so that if you hear from your program manager, hey, I need you to change something, you'll understand what that means and you'll know what to do. We will also be going over general tips for accurate performance reporting. And we will also be letting you know where you should go for support with your performance report, because VAWA MEI is not the only resource that you will have to support you while you fill out your performance report. And so I'm going to go over one more slide, and then I'm probably going to give a little pause before we continue because I see there's maybe a lot of messages in the chat and some things going on, and I'm not exactly sure what's happening in there. So I'll hit this slide and then brief pause before I continue so that I can make sure we're seeing everything if there are questions or comments. The reporting process, we like to let everybody know that the minute you become an OVW grantee and you have an award, You are required now to fill out a performance report, and you have to do that twice a year. So there are two reporting periods, and they run from January to June and then from July to December. And so we like to call those, you'll have your JJ reporting period and your JD reporting period. And so right now we are in our JJ 26 reporting period. And it begins with the OVW grantee, so that would be you. And for every award that you have, you are required to fill out a report in the web-based impact tool. And again, we will go over what the impact tool is, so please have no fear. You will learn what that is. And so you will go online and you will access the impact tool, and that is where you will find your performance report. So the report is not in JustGrants, but rather it is online in the impact tool. And we will let you know how to access that and how to use that. So you, the OVW grantee, have to access the impact tool and fill out your report. And then you take the report that you generate from the impact tool, and you then have to upload the PDF into the JustGrants system. And if you're not familiar, and hopefully you all are, JustGrants is the Justice Grants system. So that is the Department of Justice's grants management system. So JustGrants replaced the old GMS system, which was the grants management system for DOJ. And so all of the discretionary grantees have to take their PDF performance reports and submit them into JustGrants. So the reporting process is filling out in Impact Tool and then submitting into JustGrants. And then your program manager will go into JustGrants and look at that report, and they will do one of two things. They will either review a report and approve it. And so the reporting that process ends there for you. And if they review your report and they are looking to have you make a change, then that is where you will become familiar with what we call a change request, where you will receive communication from your program manager asking you to make changes. In which case, you can see there's a little dotted line on that slide. It means you have to get back into the impact tool because your program manager is asking you to go back into your report and make a change. And so we will discuss and go over what that means to make changes in your report. And we actually have a resource on our website, a guide dedicated to making change requests so that you will understand and be familiar with that process. And so when you complete your change request, you will just do the process again, and that circle goes around and around and again. And if you have to make another change, it'll go around and around and again until you reach that approval process at the approval phase at the end. And so that's the reporting process. And so I will take a pause here, and maybe Hannah, you can let me know if there was anything, if you want to speak to it. If I missed any questions or comments.
Nope, just another question about the recording that's going to be available and shared out. There seem to be a few individuals who are having some audio troubles, and Shannon is there to help you troubleshoot as needed. So definitely chat her and she'll help you out.
Thank you.
And I think it's actually my turn.
I will pass it to you. Yes.
Why not? Hi, everyone. Welcome. Thanks for being here today. What is the impact tool? So as Alexa said, it's OVW's web-based reporting system. And so we worked with OVW to develop an online, web-based system where you can access the performance report, fill it out, share it with your colleagues so multiple people can be filling it out at the same time, complete the report, and get a download copy of it. So all discretionary grantees use this tool, which I will show shortly. And that PDF that gets generated from the tool is what you need to submit into your JustGrants account. If it's been a while since you have been in your JustGrants account, I recommend you hop in there sooner rather than later and make sure everything is working well for you. As the due date for your January to June 2026 performance report is July 30th, and that's midnight at Eastern time. And that's July 30th, not July 31st. So I'll kind of go into a little bit more detail about the overview of reporting in the tool, and then I'll screen share a little later. So you're going to access your reporting form link via the VAWA MEI website, or a few weeks ago, the point of contacts in your JustGrants account should have received an email from VAWA MEI providing you with the link to your specific program's performance report. That either the website or the link you received in your email will send you to a blank report. And so you're going to start a brand new report for the reporting period, which you should do every reporting period. So don't reuse your old links. And we don't recommend that for multiple reasons. One of which is the tool is not a storage system, and eventually that old report will be migrated out of the tool, and then that link that you had before won't be usable anymore. So it's great practice to start fresh every reporting period and make sure you download the data that you completed. You will need to complete all of the sections and validate the data. The system will validate it for you, fix any errors that are flagging, and then finalize the report. And I'll go through what that means. But once you download it, again, upload it into JustGrants. This is a lot of text on the slide, and that's so that you have this as a resource later. It's a little bit more detail than what I just went over, but again, you'll go onto the VAWA MEI website, which actually, if you haven't been here before, which I hope everyone has, but VAWAMEI.org, you'll navigate to your program page. Let's say I like to use rural as an example. So you find yours, this page, it has a spot here for forms and instructions, and it should be the first box that you see should always be your impact link. And so if you click this link, it'll bring you to another page that provides some additional instructions, all of which we're covering here today. But once you click that performance report button, it brings you to this blank form where you can then start a new report. You're going to fill out that first page that comes up. And once you save that first page, a link is going to be emailed to the email address that was entered into the point of contact question. And so that is then your unique link for your report that you have for your January to June 2026 reporting period. And that link is the one you can share with your colleagues, your grant partners, to work together on the report. So you're going to prepare the report in the tool, fill out every section. There are going to be mandatory or required questions that you have to fill out, and then also optional sections. So you'll answer a question that asks, did you use grant funds to do X activity? If you select no, you'll move on. Yes, you'll fill out some more information. Once you do that, you're going to complete and finalize the report, and again, download a copy and then submit it into your JustGrants account. Your report is not considered submitted until it is uploaded into your JustGrants account. Since that's where the official government record is, you want to make sure that you're meeting that deadline. This is another plug for please do not use the same reporting form link. You want to start fresh every reporting period. You should have gotten an email from us if you are your JustGrants point of contact. And if not, you can access the link via our website like I showed. I see there's a question or a note, like what if we have no upload option in JustGrants? I believe that it's possible that the terminology that it's used is attach. So you submit it as an attachment to the report that is due. Unfortunately, us at VAWA MEI have no access to the JustGrants system, outside of our own account. So if a button isn't showing up for you and you don't have the access that you need, you'll want to reach out to JustGrants and we'll provide that contact information at the end. Pass it over to Alexa.
Okay, and I do see one question in the chat that I'll just answer quickly. Katie asked, is the JJ the final report or the regular? And it depends on if you are closing out an award. So the JJ and the JD doesn't indicate anything except for which period we're currently in. So there is actually a question on the reporting form in the general grant information section that asks if you are filling out a final report or a regular report. And so if you are closing out your award, and Hannah can actually show this right now, and the type of performance report, you will select if it's final or regular, and that indicates if it's a final report or a regular report. And then there is an associated question in the narrative section at the end of the form that you would answer if it's a final performance report. And it's sort of like a summary question of the activities over the life of the award. And so that is really the only difference between what is a regular performance report and what is a final performance report. So thanks, Katie, for that question. Okay. And so we are getting into the point about change requests. And so I actually even dealt with a change request this morning from a grantee who submitted already, and don't feel bad, it's only July 7th. Grantees have already submitted reports into JustGrants because they filled out their reports in the impact tool. They got them in to JustGrants, and the program managers have reviewed them. And what they are running into, which is one of the most common issues that we see for change requests, and this is sort of an impact error with the system, is that when the PDFs get generated, sometimes they get generated out of order or the pages rewrite over each other. And so the program manager was reviewing the report and noticed that the pages were funky. And so they asked the grantee to get back into the impact tool to refinalize the performance report, to regenerate a new PDF so that the PDF would be sort of like a clean copy because they had a jumbled version. And so the change request is the program manager's formal request to the grantee to redo the report. And in this case, it was due to formatting. And sometimes it's due to, missing data, and we have here inconsistencies, unallowable activities. So for a number of reasons, they may make that formal request back to you. And so you must use the link that you have, your unique URL that the system generates to you once you begin a new report. And you click that link. So you're going to always want to save a link. When you start a new report, you're going to want to save your unique URL to your performance report. And you'll get back into your report, and we will go over how you do that, how you get back into report once it's been finalized. You're going to revise the report in the impact tool. You're going to refinalize it in the impact tool, generate a new PDF, and upload that into JustGrants to replace the report that you previously uploaded. And we actually have a resource and a guide that goes through these steps. And so that link, when you get the materials, that's a clickable URL that you can go to. We also have that on our website, so we can drop that into the chat. This is a PDF guide that you can download and find if you need to follow the steps for a change request. You can always email us too if you get a change request and you're unsure what to do. So we are a good resource for you all if you don't know what to do in a situation where you get a request like this. But we do have a guide for you all to follow. And so that's change requests. And like we're saying, what do you do? How do I get back to my report? So generally, if you begin a new report in the impact tool, you go to what we call them a blank form. When you start a new report, it's a blank form URL. You're clicking on a universal link. So if I want to start, like Hannah was saying, she goes to the rural page, The link that we have on the VAWA MEI website to start the rural form is the blank URL. It's the universal URL. So everyone can start a rural form using that link. And how do I make it mine? I make it mine by typing in my information, and then I type in my email address. I hit save and continue, and then the impact tool emails me a link that we call a unique URL, because it's now the URL that becomes mine because it has my specific information in it. So it's no longer the universal URL for the rural form. It's the form that I started. So the impact tool is going to give you a unique URL, and you're going to want to save that because that's the link that you're going to click, and you're going to want to bookmark it because that's how you go back and forth. That's how you start the report, and then you can close it, and then you can click that link again and get back there later in the day. That's how you can share it with partners or with colleagues. So that's how you can go back and forth to your report, and you can use that link. If the report hasn't been finalized, you can just go back in and out anytime you want. And if you have finalized the report and you need to get back in, you can use that exact same URL because that unique URL doesn't change. But what changes is that when you click the link, you no longer get back into your report because it's been finalized. What you get back to is a screen, and you can kind of see there's a little bit of a screenshot of it on the right here. You get to a screen, and this one shows the tribal government's performance report that shows your options. Because you have finished the report in the impact tool, the link now takes you to a page that allows you to download the report that you finished. So you have the option to download your PDF, or you have the option to get back into the report, which is the button for view and make edits. So to get back into the report, you would click view and make edits, and then it asks you, do you want to get back in and edit the report? So it's, did you really mean to do this? And you say yes, and then you would get back into the report. So if it's been finalized, you do have to click the button for view and make edits, and then intentionally like unfinalize it and get back into the report, which means you then have to refinalize it to download a new one to submit it back into JustGrants. So just be aware, if you view and make edits, you do have to finalize it again. So excuse me, you don't want to just be like finishing it and then click view and make edits if you didn't really intentionally mean to go back in and make an edit. Okay. So what happens if you're like, oh no, I can't find my report, which means you can't find your link. So if you've started or completed a report and you can no longer find the link, we do have a Find My Report button, which can help you recover your unique URL. And so to get to the spot that you can type in the email address to find my report, you would have to just navigate to the blank form URL page. So say you're, that rural grantee, and you go to the rural impact link form, the blank form URL page, and you navigate down. Instead of start new report, you see that little button for the Find My Report. And so whoever's contact information was entered on the general grant information page as the email contact, that's the email contact that you need to put in for Find My Report. I guess Hannah doesn't have any active reports in the system at this point, so she will not be receiving an email with her report link. But if she had one, the system would email her the link to her reporting form. And actually, just yesterday, I had a grantee email and said, I started a new form and I didn't receive a link. And I typed my email in the Find My Contact, Find My Report box, and I'm also not getting an email. Can you help me? And I was like, oh, that's very interesting. And so I went into the back end of the impact tool and I found their form through their program and their grant number. And it turns out that they typed their email address incorrectly into the contact information bar in the general grant information section. So the system, when it saved and continued, it didn't properly email them their link because it didn't have their correct email address. So a URL was given to them with their form because the impact tool does generate a URL and it pops it up for you and actually prompts you to save the URL. And we will go over that when we do our live demo. So you will have a link given to you that's not through email. So there are multiple ways for you to get the link to your reporting form. But I just wanted to note here that if you do type your email address in incorrectly, that would make it so that you wouldn't be able to use this feature and it wouldn't work. So just be careful when you're typing in just your email because anything else, fine. But if the email address is typed incorrectly, then you will not be able to use the Find My Report button. You would have to instead email VAWA MEI and I can fix the typo, which I did, and I actually gave her a report link. So you can find your report. You can always find your report because you can always contact VAWA MEI and we can always get you your report link. But if you would like to be able to find it on your own without having to get in touch with us, just be sure to type your email in without any typos. And I think that's everything on this page. And I would stop to say, Hannah, I saw some questions coming in, and I don't know if you wanted to call any of them out before we move on.
Yeah, I think there's a good couple questions that might be worth noting quickly.
Okay.
There was a question of how long the existing links are active for.
Okay.
And so a minimum of 6 months. So if you complete your January to June 2026, you can expect that it will be available to you through the end of the year, for sure. They will likely linger in longer than 6 months, but a minimum of 6 months. And then does a sub-awardee need to report in the impact tool or just the awardee? And so if you are an entity that was the primary on a proposal and you have grant partners, you likely are the one with the JustGrants account, so you need to submit it into JustGrants. And you and your sub awardees need to work together to complete one report that reflects all of the grant funded activities that happened in that 6 month reporting period with the award that you received. And so that's one of the glorious things about the impact tool is that you can share a link. If you have one grant partner that does direct victim services and they're the only one, they can put their information in while you say fill out the prosecution section or something like that.
Just want to emphasize that we will email out a copy of the PowerPoint slides to everyone, hopefully tomorrow when we have the contact information for all of the attendees from TA to TA. And so we will have a version in English and Spanish, and you will have these materials, and the recording will hopefully be emailed out sometime next week.
Yeah. And then you might notice some performance reports when you're in the system. There's an OMB clearance number and an expiration date. If the expiration date is passed, that's okay. This is still the report that you should be using. And just know that all of the links on our VAWA MEI website for the impact tool are up to date and active.
And we do have sample forms on our website, which to Felicia's question, that would be, I think, a stand-in for a blank form. So we will point you to the sample forms in a few slides. We will go over where they are on our website. Okay, so a few issues with the impact tool that we would like to point out so that if you experience them, you know that they are common things that occur. Sometimes the impact tool, the site will not load, and we like to recommend clearing your internet browsers, the cache and cookies. So that's like clearing your history. And this sometimes helps to improve the browser performance. And I have found that it helps me if I'm having trouble with impact and it's not loading. So it doesn't really matter like Mac, PC, or if you're using Chrome, Firefox, or whatever. It seems like just doing a good clearing of that history, it usually helps with that issue. We also like to point out that the narrative boxes in the impact tool do have character limits. And so if you type your narrative somewhere else, like in a Word document, and you paste, and that character limit exceeds the limit in impact, it won't save. So we do recommend looking at the character limit that is on impact. And I believe it says it under the boxes, and you can check, like if you type in a Word document, you can do a character count just so that you know you're not going over or you're not typing too much. And then you go to paste it in impact and you've typed too much and you have to cut it. So we just want to make folks aware of that. And we also just like to say it's good practice potentially to type the narrative responses out somewhere else and save them so that if for whatever reason you are typing and stuff gets lost, you have them saved somewhere else so that you're not losing your work. If you've spent a bunch of time and then somehow it doesn't save for whatever reason, you at least have it saved somewhere else, because people have lost lots of work before by the impact site like timing out or the narrative not saving for whatever reason. So we just like to make people aware of that. And then I did touch on this before with the PDF issues that the impact tool has. The finalization process for the PDF that you need to generate from the impact tool is a process that is lengthy, and it requires you to essentially take screenshots of every page of your report on your internet browser. And so the PDF is being generated like one page at a time as you click through your report. And this is screenshots basically. And sometimes, due to reasons unknown at this time, the pages get generated out of order, text rewrites over itself. I don't know what else happens. Like, yeah, it's like it's the formatting's funky for whatever reason. And so we advise, number one, that you take a look at the PDF that gets generated, open it up and see if you have, a clean, organized PDF with all the pages and all the sections, and that you don't have overset or overwritten text. Because if you do, and you didn't look at it and you submit it, you're probably going to get a change request. So you want to just maybe, get ahead of that by taking a look at the PDF that gets generated out of the impact tool. And if you do come across a formatting issue, you're going to have to, I would say, clear your browser's cache and cookies, go back into the impact tool, and you're going to have to click the view and make edits button. And you're going to need to refinalize your performance report again. You're going to generate that PDF and then open it back up and take a look. And if you're still experiencing the issue of weird formatting, please reach out to VAWA MEI for assistance, because it's nothing that you're doing wrong. It's a glitch in the system, and we can help you generate a clean PDF. So this is just a known issue that persists with the impact tool. And we want to make you aware of it so that it doesn't frustrate you and that you're not running up against this issue at the last minute, when your report is due and you have a PDF that just won't generate for you in a format that you can submit.
Okay. So before I get into the impact tool, I've seen a few questions about accessing a blank report without accessing the system, and I know Alexa noted it. So while I'm here on the lovely VAWA MEI website, a couple of notes. Each program has a sample form available, and this is simply for your information of what is included. It is a PDF and it lists out the questions as they exist in the impact tool. And so this is not a fillable PDF, it is just for information. If you need additional support and accessing the information outside of impact, reach out to us and we are happy to assist you in getting you what you need. There are also separate instructions for download. These are lengthy documents, but they go through and have some information for every question and also examples. So if you report, in victim services, it has some helpful examples of how to report there. Okay, so like I did before, you access the impact tool from the VAWA MEI website to get into a blank report. Click Start New Report and enter in the information. So we're quickly fill out. This is
And I'll just narrate as Hannah's going. There are little asterisks next to some questions, and those indicate what we're calling mandatory fields. And if it's red, it's like you need to fill this out.
yes, thank you, Alexa.
Yeah.
See, I put in the proper format and then it was happy and I could save and continue. And so this page provides you with your unique URL. It also, I just received an email, I saw it come through with this unique URL in it as well. So now I do have a rural performance report started with my email address. But so you could copy this, save this to, if you have a Word doc going where you save links, if you want to send it in an email to a colleague, you could copy it, put it there, and then you both have it.
You could bookmark it.
You could bookmark it, yeah.
Yep.
And so then we're in
And
a
so that,
report.
yeah, that's how we transition from blank URL to unique URL. Like before you were accessing the universal link for the rural form, and now when you go to a link, this is your unique URL for the rural form that Hannah just started. Like only she has this URL now. So it is her
Yep.
form. And that's why it goes back to the general grant information page. You're like, oh, why is it back to this page? I already filled it out. It's because it's taking you now specifically to the URL of the general grant information page of your form. And so you have options at the bottom for save and continue, to go back and like save and come back later.
Yeah. If you click save and continue or save, go to the next page and you did not address required questions, it, like we showed before, it'll show some red text, alert you, this question is required. If I answer it, it is now happy. It also shows on the left-hand side, there's a navigation pane. So it shows you each of the sections that we need to complete and it alerts you when you have fulfilled the requirements and when you have not. So you'll go through and fill out all of these sections if you are a rural grantee. If you click Save Progress and continue later, it will open up, it'll save what you've entered, and then it will open up your unique URL again for you to copy in case you didn't save it before. But then if you're done after that, as long as you clicked one of those save buttons, you can exit out of this screen and come back later. But yeah, we'll go through and fill it out. I'm not going to fill out this whole report, but at the end, there is a validate, review, and complete. And so this is showing me where I have problems in this form. Unfortunately, I have problems in all of the sections because I didn't fill them out. But if I wanted to go address the policy section, I just clicked on that and it brought me right to the section. Click no or answer the questions and it's good to go. So you'll go through and complete that. Luckily, I'm gonna bring a report over. This report is completed. It's on our test site, but I want to now do a final review. So to complete that, I click final review. It's going to say generate PDF of performance report. It'll explain that you need to review each page carefully. You need to click go to the next page at the button to advance. If you find that there is error or something that you want to change, you can click cancel and it'll cancel the finalization and you can go in and address that. If you're ready to go, you can click continue, and then we will go down to the bottom of each page and click go to next page. Go to next page. A nice tip for this is that when you start doing this, you can use the space bar on your computer and it will click that go to next page for you. You just want to make sure you're doing it slow enough so that your internet connection can take the pictures as needed. And it is unfortunately, if you are a grantee that has a long form, you have to fill out or click the button for every page. So it's a tedious process. It is a nice opportunity to check your work. We're getting closer. There we go. Made it to the end. And now I need to click complete. And I've now completed it. So I'm able to, I should have received an email telling me that I had a report that was validated and finalized. I can then click download report and it opens up the report for me in a separate tab. And then, as Alexa said, you should definitely go through and make sure things are in the right order. You'll notice that there is some sizing difference between the pages, and that's because of the way that it's built. We are working with our development team to improve this process. And so until then, expect that's what you'll see. So if this is looking good, I think this is looking like it's all in the right order for me. You then want to make sure that you save it to your desktop, to a folder where you can access it, name it appropriately, and then this is the file that you would load into your JustGrants account. And also save for yourself. You want to make sure that you have documentation of what you completed. Okay. We briefly went over the website. You want to navigate to your grant programs page, form and instructions. That's where you can see those sample forms and separate instructions document. This is a list of the resources on our website, as well as we have those how-to guides that Alexa talked about. We have pre-recorded trainings. This training that is being recorded will be posted onto our website. A quick plug for we have office hours every Wednesday during the month of July. So tomorrow from 1 to 2 Eastern time, a couple of our team members, I believe Alexa and Casey, Wynn, if you're familiar, will be available. You don't have to pre-register, but you certainly can. And bring your questions to that space. You could fill your report out while you're sitting there with them and they can answer any questions that you have that come up as you go. And definitely contact us if you have questions. Speaking of questions, I want to pause and ask Alexa, is there any important notes? Yeah.
No, we had a question that someone was just asking about if I wanted to take a form, like a sample form and work on it separately, not on the impact tool. And I actually did have a grantee email about that this morning too, wanting to have the ability to like fill out a form separately from the impact tool and then transfer what they filled out to impact. And it's not easy to, you can't like print the impact form from the impact tool. Like that's not really an option. So it's not easy to navigate the form on the impact
Yeah.
tool. And so we usually
Well,
direct folks to the sample forms that we have on our website that you can have, and then you can sort of fill those out and then get the data onto the impact tool. And you can take the PDF, as I said, you can open that into a Word document because you can then fill that out, with your data and then take it to impact, or if you want, to give it to other folks to fill in, if people are looking for something to share and have people fill in and then take it. But you're also able to share the link around, like if you're interested in figuring out how to share the form with folks, like as many people, and I don't think we mentioned this, many people can be in one form at one time. What you can't do successfully is be on the same page and save different things, because it's basically going to be the person who saves the data like last on that page will be the data that gets saved. So while you can share links and multiple people can be filling out forms, you just want to be aware of like which sections and pages you are all in or going to be in. And Hannah, I think you were going to say something additionally about the sample forms.
yes. Thank you, Alexa. And thank you for that editing information. So for the sample forms, part of the reason that we post PDFs is that we can post accessible PDFs. Adobe Acrobat is there's a free software for everybody so that they can access it. If you have Microsoft Word and you would like a Microsoft Word version of the sample PDF of the sample forms, please reach out to VAWA MEI and we can work on getting that over to you so that you can work with it. Due to accessibility reasons, though, we don't post those on our website. So I wanted to name that as a caveat.
Yeah. But you certainly can directly open the PDFs from our website that you download. And if you open Word and then do File Open and select the PDF, Word will just convert it into a Word document automatically. So you can do that directly if you don't want to get in touch with us, because we make them in Word and then convert them to PDFs. So it works to just convert them back. But yes, for reasons of accessibility, we post them as accessible PDFs on our website. So that's why they show up in that format.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then one other question that came through, just to clarify that if a team member is making changes to a unique URL, a report with a unique URL, a new URL is not generated each time. It is the same link, no matter how many edits are made to that individual report. Okay. This is another plug for our website. We do this Thursday, Alexa and our colleague Casey, again, will be doing another webinar on how to report FTEs. And then next week, Alexa and I will be doing how to report in the victim services section. So our website is where you can register for those if you have not already and would like to attend. And we can put a link for the registration in the chat. Pass it back to Alexa.
Okay, so we like to just wrap up the webinar here with some tips for successful reporting. So across all forms, you're only going to want to report on OVW grant funded activities and staff, no more, no less. There are like one or two exceptions on the forms where you may be reporting, like campus, I think is one of them that might ask a question about like non-grant funded activities. But you're basically going to want to be reporting only on OVW grant funded activities and staff. And throughout the form, you're going to see narrative boxes. And we just encourage you to use those narrative boxes to provide more detail, to explain data, as well as to discuss successes and challenges. So if there is a reason why maybe you reported a number a certain way, take the opportunity to use the narrative box. And if there isn't a narrative box directly attached to a specific question, At the end of the form, on every form in the narrative section, there's a question that says something to the effect of, is there anything that you would like to report, any additional information that you would like to report about the data that you reported on this form? And so that's just kind of a catch-all narrative at the end of the form where you can make reference to any of the numerical data that you've reported in any section of the form if you're looking to just kind of expand and provide some context about that. And then I think we have mentioned this, but we have a lot of resources on our website, so we'll make a plug for it again. If you haven't been to our website, please check it out. And one of the last things we'll do before we get to the slides for who do you call and who do you contact for help is, how do you report if you haven't had a budget approved? So like if you haven't spent any money, how are you supposed to report? If you haven't actually like done anything, we don't have any activities. So you still are required to report, and it's common. You're not the only one. There are a bunch of grantees who, don't have budgets approved, but you are still required to submit a report every period, even if you have not begun using grant funds. And we do have a resource guide on our website that explains this whole process. And essentially, you're going to be just filling out those mandatory sections, of which there are only a few. There are narrative questions, the general grant information. Most forms have a coordinated community response section that is required. So it's going to be a very minimal form, but you are still required to fill out the sections, generate that PDF, and upload it into JustGrants. Okay. And so if you are having questions or need technical support with your JustGrants account, please call JustGrants or email them directly. At VAWA MEI, we do not have access to the JustGrants system. We don't know much about it. We can't help you really with anything besides giving you their contact information. So if you are having login information or you can't find where to upload the report or something's confusing you about JustGrants, just contact them directly. And if you need support with your grant, like verifying grant supported activities or approval for products, or if you're unable to submit your performance report on time, we ask that you get in touch with your OVW grant manager. They will be the ones that you should talk to about those sorts of things. We, again, can't help. We can't tell you if something should or shouldn't go on your performance report. We can't do anything about if you're going to be late. We can only tell you the things, most of the things that we've just discussed in this webinar today. And we're happy to point you in the direction of someone who maybe could help you, but mostly our lane is just help with the performance reporting. But other than that, these other things, you need to contact your grant manager. Okay, so call us. If you're having trouble with the impact tool, we would be happy to help you with that. For questions on the content of the reporting form, how should I report certain activities? We do offer one-on-one technical assistance. We do it via email, phone, or Zoom. We can get on the phone with you and get right in the tool with you. We can access your performance report and see it now that the reporting is online, so we can look at it live with you and see what's going on. We have the ability to do that basically anytime during our business hours. And just to plug, I had to mention this, we are in Maine, so we're on Eastern time. So our business hours are generally around 9 to 5 Eastern time. So for our West Coast and Pacific Islanders, Alaskan friends, the time difference can be a little bit of an issue, but we do our best to try to accommodate those sorts of hours. So we're very flexible with those sorts of things. So just be in touch, and any questions that come up, we do our best to answer them or get you to the folks that could help you answer your questions. And so anytime that you are trying to fill out a performance report and you have a question and you don't know what to do, we just encourage you to reach out to us. And instead of sitting and wondering, like, how do I do this? Yeah, go Impact Tool. Yay. We like to hear that. We are really happy with it. And so we're really happy to hear what other people are happy about it. So thank you so much. And we hope to see you. As Hannah mentioned, we have our webinar on Thursday for FTEs and another one next week for victim services. So if you have yet to sign up for those, please do. And if you have any questions, let us know.